Heard my father have a lot of great background. He was 8 years old when he became the king over Judah. His father was no good. And it wasn't like his mama was trying to do anything different. But at 26 years old, Josiah led a revival of all the house of Judah. Josiah could have leaned back on the excuse that my daddy didn't teach me right, that my mama didn't teach me right, that I'm just a product of my environment. And even though we know these things can be contributing factors to a person's behavior, Josiah did not allow that to happen. At 26, Josiah knew what was right. And he decided to do what was right. Joshua told the house of Israel, choose ye this day who you're going to serve. Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. When it comes down to serving the Lord, it's not a hereditary thing. It's a choice that you must make for yourself. I don't have a relationship with God because my mother and father have a relationship with God. I'm not in the ministry because my father's a deacon. I'm not in the ministry because there's 17, 18 preachers in the Montgomery family. I made a choice to serve God. If Josiah could do that at 26 years old, any of us could do it. Any of us could. I love the way Josiah sets the house in order, and he started from the top down. Josiah first knew that the sin problem had to be dealt with. So they had Passover. And your second outline says there'd never been a Passover like this before. I just imagine how much blood was shed. But the fact that Josiah led the greatest Passover that there ever was tells me his attitude toward the sin of his people. That this was no light thing to him. Led a Passover. Then he put the priests in order. Encouraged them to the service of the house of the Lord. Then went to the Levites that taught Israel the law. Got them in order. Then he said, get the ark in order. Then he told them to prepare yourselves according to the writing of David and Solomon. Verse number 6 is like a summary of what he did. He said, kill the Passover, sanctify yourselves, prepare the brethren. Kill the Passover. Deal with the sin problem. Sanctify yourselves. Deal with the you problem. And prepare your brethren. Do I need to say that again? Deal with the sin problem. Deal with the you problem. Then focus on your brethren. You will put the house in order. Deal with the sin problem. It takes Jesus to do that. Deal with the you problem. Then prepare your brethren. How did Jesus say it? Jesus said, why are you paying attention to the speck that's in your brother's eye, the splinter that's in your brother's eye when there's a beam in yours? Deal with the sin problem. Deal with the you problem. And if I focus on me, I realize I don't have much time for anybody else. And let me help us. When we focus on the me problem, a lot of other folk around us will get in order. You don't have to go and tell somebody they're wrong. They know that they're wrong. If you get right, and the person next to you get right, and the person next to you get right, other folk will realize I need to get right. I can't get off this first outline. Deal with the sin problem. Bring that thing to the altar. Bring it to the Lord. And in order to deal with the sin problem, you got to recognize you've sinned, that you've done wrong. You got to recognize that you're not right just because you're in church. Those of us in church do just as much wrong sometimes as the one outside. Deal with the sin problem. Give it to Jesus. Right, a Hebrew said that we had this boldness to enter into the holiness, holy of holies, by a new and living way. That's the veil. That is to say, through the flesh, so we can come before the throne of before the mercy seat of God, and we can obtain grace because Jesus has dealt with the sin problem that kept us separated from God. Now I can go in that holy place with God and seek forgiveness and grace, and the sin problem is dealt with. John said, 1 John 2:1, I believe it was, little children, I write to you that you sin not. And if we do, we got an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ the righteous. And he says he is the propitiation for our sin. That propitiation is the same thing as that lid over the Ark of the Covenant and that mercy seat with the two cherubims, or it's your covering. It is where we receive mercy and grace from God. We walk around like we perfect, and always got this unction to tell somebody else they're wrong. Or we too cowardly to go to that other person. We go to somebody else about them. Deal. I hear you. Deal with the sin problem. Deal with the you problem. Then you can prepare your brethren. I find that I don't have to tell folks they're wrong a lot. If I just keep my mouth shut and I just do what I'm supposed to do, a lot of times folk be like, I'm sorry, Eugene. I love Josiah because this young man set the house in order in the way it should be set in order. Now you might ask, how come they didn't bring the ark in first? Because you didn't want tainted hands dealing with the ark. They had to deal with the sin problem before they touched the ark. Because in actuality, the ark comes first. The presence of God comes first. But you got to get right to get in the presence of God. I told you Josiah, one of my favorite people in the Bible, because he's not a statistic. 8 years old, became a king. Could have been led by anybody to do anything at 8. But I believe Josiah put some people around him that kept him encouraged in the Lord. Watch your crowd. I like to keep a small circle. I don't need too many voices in my ears, especially if you're not talking about the Lord. That's all I got this morning. That first outline. Deal with the sin, deal with you, deal with others. Church will be all right if we get that. This will be a pleasant place to come fellowship if we get that in order. Hey, the house might be full of folks if we get that in order. Thank the Father, Deacon Jacobs, teaching us this morning, giving us those golden nuggets. And Sister Diane, you got a question. I want to answer, so make sure you don't let me get out of your way before I answer. But you got a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. Tell somebody you love them. Good to see you. And we'll come and convene for our worship service. Amen.